that, let's bring in Michael Makovsky, President and CEO of the Jewish Institute for National Security of America. Michael, the stakes couldn't be higher. Your thoughts as we sort of wait and watch to see what will happen?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning. I think you're absolutely right. The stakes couldn't be higher right now. Anything could happen. I think it's very unlikely that this Iranian regime, which is really being controlled, it seems even more firmly than before by the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, would make a deal with the United States. So then we'll have to see if that's the case, that what the United States military will do and what impact that will have. I think there are basically three main issues left here in this war, and they've been the big issues all along. One is the Strait of Hormuz. Two is what to do about Iran's nuclear program, and three is the survival of the regime itself. And I'm not sure militarily, without a lot of risk and time, if we could solve all those problems before we stop this war.
Let's talk about one of those three you laid out. And I think you perfectly laid out the three parts of this, that Strait of Hormuz. Now, that obviously, as we all know, affects the global economy. And we saw earlier this morning strikes on military targets, again on Karg Island, hitting things like ammo storage facilities and the like, and radars and military targets. What do you make of the news that we did strike Karg Island today?
Well, at a minimum, it's certainly a clear. We did it once. We've done it before during the war, but if it's clearly a strong warning to the regime that we could at least destroy their oil export facility. 90%, I think 90% of Iran's oil exports go through Karg Island, and by the way, about 90% of Iranian oil exports total go to China. We should clarify. And so if we take that out, which we could, or we could decide to try to take over that island, that will be a big blow to the regime. So the question is, if the war stopped today or tomorrow, let's say, what do we want to do? Do we want to completely, what do we want to leave this regime with? Meaning a severely more weakened country. And I think that's partly what we're aiming to do here. In addition, separately from the issue of the oil exports from Iran. I mean, but the thing is, what concerns me is I'm sure we could ensure the survival of Iran. We could ensure continue export of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. But the question is, at what cost and how long would it take? And I'm a little more skeptical on that score. I'm sure we could do it, but do we really want to expend the resources and time to do it? Because it's easy to keep disrupting. It's harder to ensure than it is to disrupt.
And I'm glad you raised that, Michael. That's a great point. Should we have to do it all on our own? Because President Trump has leaned in to not only our NATO allies that don't seem to be willing to help us with that, but also Gulf nations. Should we carry the load on our own?
Absolutely not. I think, from a sense of proper fairness, you want our West Europeans to do it. Obviously, since the Chinese get a lot coming out of there too, but I don't think we really want to encourage the Chinese to get militarily involved in the Strait of Hormuz. So the French and the British and other allies, the Italians, maybe by right they should do it, but unfortunately they don't seem willing to really step up at all. So the question is, for America, not just because oil prices are connected, even if we don't really need the straighter oil from the Gulf as much as they do, the Europeans do, or the Chinese, it will still affect oil prices. And then there's the issue of if Iran is able to disrupt the oil coming out of the Strait of Hormuz, aside from their oil exports, is that kind of a blow to the U.S. and is seen as kind of Iranian victory. And that's maybe motivating things as well for the president.
In laying out your three pillars there, let's talk about militarily. We saw this morning, Vice President Vance in Hungary making a visit there, and he was saying that essentially he feels like most of our military objectives, working in conjunction with Israel, are being met. Is that your sense that we are at the point where we're nearing accomplishing our military objectives?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned those three big issues, but I didn't address what you're really suggesting, because I do think that's pretty much been settled. As far as I can tell, it's not 100% settled, which is that one of the big things that we and the Israelis have tried to do is completely, severely degrade Iran's conventional weapons capability and their ability to project power abroad, and that a lot of that is through their ballistic missile, and that means not just destroying the actual missiles, but also the launchers and the industrial base that produces those ballistic missiles, because that's a fearsome threat that they have. And there have been reports in recent days that they still have a lot of those ballistic missiles left. I don't know if but I think we've done a very good job. I think we should say, if the war ended today at 7:59, I still think President Trump could take a big victory lap. This would be a big success by the United States and Israel. It's severely degrading Iranian leadership, weakening the regime, which is also, I think, if not an explicit, but certainly an implicit or objective, and severely weakening them conventionally. I think it's been a very successful military campaign. It might not be a complete grand slam, because it seems like if we're unable to extract, let's say, their enriched nuclear uranium, it would be ideal if we could. I don't have the intelligence. How much of that is buried, how much of that is accessible. I think we can extract it, but it's risky militarily. And then on the issue of the regime, if I may, I think if the war ended today, the regime is obviously severely weakened. The United States and Israel have done a tremendous job of killing a lot of their senior leadership, weakening them, leaving the country very weak in general economically, and I think making it easier for the Iranian people to bring the regime down, because it's ultimately going to be the Iranian people that do that. And that's an impossible thing to gain, but one key moment in that will be, once the firing stops, do the people come out on the streets? And if they come out on the streets, then are we able to protect them against the regime's, repression?
Right.
We don't know.
And we can only hope that the worst doesn't happen, after having now heard about some 30,000 plus have been gunned down and killed in the streets by this regime. You got me thinking a little bit, Michael, because you talk about, what comes after with Iran and the population and what may or may not be the remnants of a new regime in the leaders there. But step back a second. What happens after this to NATO? Because we keep hearing that NATO will never be the same, and you raised it a little bit. It's not all of NATO. Let's be clear. The eastern countries of NATO have been quite cooperative, saying, what do you need? How can we help? While the western countries, France, and in particular Spain that wouldn't even allow us to fly over them and use bases that we pay for to do what we need to do there. We didn't say we need you to fly alongside our fighter pilots. We didn't say we needed you to come and fight shoulder to shoulder. We just said, let us use our bases, and they wouldn't even let us fly over. And it's really remarkable what President Trump has done to sort of expose them.
Yeah, I think it's been extremely counterproductive, to say the least. I think that, of these U.S. European countries to act this way, it's frankly disgraceful in every way, strategically, morally. It might play to these governments' political base. The government in Spain is left-wing, is awful towards Israel, has been hostile to the United States. Obviously, then you got in Britain, you got Starmer, who's been let's just say this, Winston Churchill, who coined that phrase, special relationship in 1946, that's over with as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
The special relationship I believe we have right now is with Israel. I mean, imagine any of these allies. It's almost a joke to think about it. Imagine any of these allies, any of them, projecting power in the way that Israel has done in this war. I mean, Israel is a country of 10 million people. That's it. And they are basically been an equal partner to the United States. I mean, they don't have the firepower that we do, but they've still done extremely well. They have been an equal partner. I've seen nothing to suggest that there's any tension between the two countries' militaries. We've worked hand in glove with the Israelis, and what a contrast that is to the Brits and the French and the Spanish. I mean, I think Israel used in the first night of the war more airplanes to attack Iran that the RAF has in its arsenal. I mean, it's crazy. So they've lacked will and they lack military capability. So to answer your question, you would hope these countries would get a wake-up call from this, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Rubio has suggested that we should leave those bases in these countries. I think it's hard to know, and that makes Russia a big winner if we weaken NATO. So we do want to. I think it's very important that we keep NATO together, but how this all plays out, I think it's going to be a challenge, and it's understandable for the American people to be very upset. Say, why should we expend a lot of resources defending these people who won't even let us fly over their country in a time of war? I agree. I think it's awful, and as you point out correctly, it's in contrast to, let's say, Greece and some of these East European countries that have acted more like our allies. By the way, the German chancellor, I think, has been good, but he's still, no one expects anything from the Germans militarily.
No.
Personally, anymore. Personally, I'd like to see them rearm better. But he also is in a coalition government, and it's constrained him. Yeah.
Well, we've got to leave it there, Michael, but such great insight, and who knows what becomes of NATO. We'll find out as we wait to also find out this ticking clock on whether or not Iran will come to the negotiating table or face what is going to be quite a strike indeed if the president does indeed intend to follow through. And there's no reason to doubt his resolve, as we have seen in the past. Michael Makovsky, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.